Hey there, Erin from the Impatient Gardener here, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about sharpening tools. It's actually kind of a nice day outside, so this is one of those days that it's really nice to do this job and get everything ready for spring. So as soon as it's really nice outside, you can just like get out there. So I'm going to walk you through step by step. Mostly I'm going to show you how I do these, which is just mostly hand pruners. I do have a knife that I use for gardening a little bit, so we'll go into that. I will say all of my hand pruners are in pretty good shape. I take pretty good care of them. So I don't have any that are really ratty. So if you're starting with some that haven't been sharpened in a really long time or have big chunks out of the blades, you're probably going to want to start with a diamond file, which is like a really rough grinding essentially to get those big chunks out of the blade. But this would be the next step after that. Once you get that done, if you never let your pruners get that bad again, you'll never have to go back and do that again. So there's a lot of different products you can use to sharpen your stuff. I happen to be using mostly Milwaukee sharpening stuff today just because actually when I ordered these pruners, I bought a lot of it. I happen to like it a lot, but there's many other things you can use. I used to use this all the time. This is called a Speedy Sharp. I'll see if I can find a link for this on it, but it's just a little hand sharpener. You can actually keep this in your pocket and just sharpen your tools on the fly. It's just got a little bit of a little sharpener on the end there. So I'm going to start with this thing. This is called a Cremate. This is a Milwaukee product. I don't know what this is except a little bit of magic. It almost feels like a pumice type stone to me. And I'm assuming that other companies have something like this, but honestly, I've never found anything like this. So this is sort of like an eraser for all the gunk that's on your pruners. In the past, I have used steel wool and a little bit of oil. So today, in terms of oil, this is camellia. I think this is camellia oil. This is another thing I got from Milwaukee, and I also have this cool little applicator thing. I really went all in on the Milwaukee stuff. This is not at all sponsored. I paid for all this, but good old-fashioned 3-in-1 oil works great too. So you can use that too. So I'm going to be starting with this Cremate thing. None of my tools are all that dirty, but you can see some of this stuff. So this would be like sap and things that get on there. I'm just going to put a little drop of this camellia oil on there, which I believe that's what that is. And then this is the Cremate. And see if you can see what it does here. So here there's some sticky, gooey stuff. And you just kind of rub it on there, and it's just like an eraser. It's amazing. I don't know what the magic is, but these are my trusty ARS pruners, which honestly don't get as much use anymore since I got those Milwaukee ones. I have a whole video on my favorite tools. Both of these are in there. I honestly can't decide which of these pruners I like better. I use them equally. I would say the ARS are quite a bit less expensive, so that is certainly a factor. Okay, now we're on to sharpening. There are so many different ways to sharpen your tools. And like I said, if you've got big chunks out of your blade, then you're going to want to start with a file so that you can really rework the shape of that blade. But once you get to sharpening, you can use whetstones. You can use a little sharpener like this. These are, again, Milwaukee stuff. This is a coarse, a regular, and a fine sharp whetstone. They say if you only buy one, get this medium one. This is called the regular one. I believe this is 1000 grit. This is 220, and I think this is 3000. So if you have, I doubt that any of mine really would need this 3000, or excuse me, the 220. But we'll start with that just in case. So they have a little bit of a concave edge down here. And so the whole thing you want to do when you're sharpening your tools is just follow the edge of the blade that's there. So that's always going to be this top. Now, better hand pruners can be taken apart so that you can really get in there and sharpen and clean them well. I would say don't do that unless you really have to. They never seem to go together quite the same way they went apart. You can if you have to replace parts. But I would say for general maintenance, and as long as you take generally good care of them, you don't need to take them apart, especially if you've got a sharpener that's sort of meant to fit in there. So just what you want to do is just follow that angle that is already on the blade. And you do want to try to, make sure you get the entire blade, because you don't just cut with the tip. And then you can flip it over, and sometimes you'll feel on the back side of the blade, you only need to sharpen that side, but sometimes you feel little burrs come up. And this has like a flat side on it, so you can just kind of take a flat side and just sort of wipe those burrs off. And on this side, there's no blade on this side, this is just the bypass side, but you can sort of get in there and kind of clean that up just a little bit, because it does sometimes get sort of chunky. By the way, I've been soaking these stones for at least 5 minutes, so they're nice and moist. Okay, so the next step would be moving down to the next grit, or a finer grit. You can see I've used this quite a bit. And this is probably the one that I probably could have started with, because these blades were in pretty good shape already. And this would be for just probably your routine maintenance. And again, I will follow up on the back side, just taking off those burrs, just cleaning up that edge. And then if you wanted to, you could go to the very finest grit. I think that's probably really, if you're getting particular about this, but I will, because we're here. Then when you are done with that, and really you should do this every time you use your pruners or every time you clean them. Make sure you get all the gunk out of there. This is the little oil applicator that is just filled with this oil. Just put a thin coating of oil on your blades, which will help keep them sharp. This reminds me of a bingo dauber, in case you've ever played bingo. And then if you can get just like a drop of oil into the hinge, it's not a bad idea. Work it in there. Oh, I love that sound. Those are good to go. Now I also have this knife. I think I got this from Garden Tool Company. This is just my little knife. It's handy to have a knife to carry around if you have to cut twine or cut bags open, or I do sometimes cut stems and stuff with it. So this hasn't been sharpened, although it doesn't get super goopy. There is some junk on it though. So first I'm gonna this is like tape or something. Scrape that off. And then I'm just gonna give it a quick once over with the Cream Mate, to get all those chunks off of there. Okay, so here is this is a little trick that I learned. This is how we sharpen sailing knives. If you take a permanent marker and you just put it right along the edge, let's see if this works. Right along the sharpened edge. So, can you see? Can you see how there's I put that marker right on the edge there. This will show you when that area has been sharpened so you won't miss any area along the blade. Because basically you're sharpening off the marker line. So you see how there's a little bit of marker line left there and a touch there. See if we can get that when we sort of fine tune it. It is so much better for your hands because if your tools work better, you're not straining your hands so much. And that is one thing I am noticing the older I get is that my hands hurt when I'm done gardening. And so you got to take care of yourself if you're going to keep gardening for the long haul, right? So listen, if you're interested in more tools, I will put a link to the video that I did on all my favorite tools. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing and hit that notification bell because we're coming into spring, so there'll be a lot more videos coming soon. And I hope this was helpful to you. So get out, get your tools sharpened, and then get out in the garden.